how to improve your return in tennis. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my thoughts why you're not improving on your return in tennis and 2 ways in which you can practice your return today in a more representative way and really level up your return game. Before we get into today's video, I'm pleased to announce that my brand new book, 50 Practice Designs and the Ultimate Guide for Tennis Coaches, is now on sale. I'll leave a link up on the screen and a link below in the description. You can take on court tonight, adapt and adjust with your players and get better results. So first and foremost, you're not improving your return because you're not practicing enough. Vast majority of tennis coaches neglect the return. If you think the serve is neglected, the return is even worse. In the majority of tennis lessons, forehand, backhand, 45 minutes, little bit of serving, tiny bit of match play. Only in the match play will you actually practice some returns. It's such a neglected shot. There's a big misconception that the return is very similar to a forehand and backhand. Again, that's not correct because the ball generally is coming from a different angle, different speed, different type of spin. It's going to react when it hits the court differently as well than a traditional ground stroke. So it's a different type of shot. You need to practice your return quite a lot. Again, if you think about a match situation, you're going to return just as much as you're going to serve. You might not even get into the forehand and backhand battle because the point might be over within the serve or return, but we don't practice our return enough. And I think that's the one reason why people struggle with the return. Because again, if you think about it, the server has a huge advantage because they start with the ball in the hand. They can decide where, when, and how to serve. And as a returner, you've got to develop some really good reaction skills. You've got to be quite attuned to what's happening with the server and really pay close attention to the server's body language to try and pick up some visual cues of where the serve might go. And it's something that we don't really focus on. A lot of the return coaching that I see is being ready, split step, contact out in front of the shoes. But a vast majority of the best returners of the world are the great readers of the game, the great readers of the environment, because with a really big serve, you've got less than a second to react. So you can't really transfer a lot of information into the body. The body's going to really self-organize quite a lot more on the return because of the lack of time. So when you're working with a returner or you're working on your own return, a first big tip for you is really focus on watching and trying to read the server and try and pick up cues of when the server goes out wide. Is there any information that you can use with either in their ball toss or their stance or their court position to try and give you a cue or a clue that they're going to go wide or down the tee or into the body? You need to be much more attuned into what the server's doing, pick up more information that way. So I'm going to share with you 2 little examples of how I train the return with my players. Some of you may have seen these practices before in either different videos based on the serve or in the coach education webinars as well. If you haven't seen these videos before, I really encourage you to go into the playlists, look at the practice design videos, look at the coach education webinars, and you'll see much more really high, good quality content around how to improve different tennis strokes within a more representative way. So in this first example, the server can serve right up to the baseline. So the server has the autonomy and the freedom to serve the full length of the half court. Why? I want the returner to work on reactions. I want them to self-organize when time and space is taken away from them. Because the server can now serve right up to the baseline, the returner is naturally, or hopefully, going to start blocking the ball back. They're going to start making contact out in front. So the game, as always, tie break, server can serve right up to the baseline. The returner has to try and get the ball back, survive the first point, and then play the point out. Really short, simple game, but really effective for developing that defensive skill of trying to get the ball back when you're working with a big server. The second practice in this video is what I call a 2-touch return. So the returner can take 2 touches. They can control the first touch and then send the second touch. Again, the idea in this practice is to get the returner to keep the ball out in front. If I want to take 2 touches, my contact has to be in front of the body. If I make contact late or open the racket face up, the ball's going to spin off the racket face. I'm going to lose control. It's going to be very difficult to hit the next shot. So by having a 2-touch return is going to help me take off the pace off the serve with the first touch and try and set myself up. And again, I really like this game because I put some emphasis on the server to try and be really effective with their serve, put the returner under some pressure so they can't take the 2 touches. Play the point out, play a tie break, and again, with all these practices, the great thing about them is you can also practice the serve. Again, never decouple the serve and return. These two shots are hand in hand, the two most important shots. You must practice them together. You can't and shouldn't practice the serve or the return in isolation. So there you have it, two practices. One big problem, we don't practice returns enough, or we practice return like a ground stroke. It's a different type of shot, different height, different speed, different path for the ball, or we decouple it and we just practice the serve in isolation. We need to practice the serve and return more. Until next time, watch the video on the screen now, and I'll see you soon.